Hey everyone, Thunderbro here, and today I'm doing something a little bit different. So if you take a quick glance at my channel, you can tell I'm a Gintama fan. It's my favorite series, and I enjoy talking about the show and its details. So a major reason that I love Gintama is how it mixes comedy and legitimate drama so seamlessly, and does both with great effectiveness. For me, Gintama's comedy and its drama are equally as compelling, and I can talk about either aspect for ages. So this video will be my standard series similarities rundown, but at the same time a recommendation for Gintama fans who haven't seen Red vs. Blue, which is a web series produced by Rooster Teeth in the Halo video games. This series was co-founded by Bernie Burns, Matt Hullum, Jeff Ramsey, and Joel Heyman, as well as Gus Sorolla. It doubles as both a machinima and an animation, and I actually started and caught up to RVB far before I had even heard of Gintama, but I gained a whole new appreciation for it on a narrative as well as creative level, after watching and catching up to Gintama. Red vs. Blue shares so many of the awesome aspects that make up why Gintama is my favorite, that if you're a Gintama fan, you should at least give this series a shot. So if you happen to be an RVB fan who hasn't seen Gintama, and you just stumbled upon this video is aimed more towards Gintama fans who haven't seen RVB, but I'll be spoiler free on both series, and I think the video will give you an idea of how Gintama is. So beginning with the expansive cast of characters, the early part of both series comprises mostly of the antics and mishaps of two major groups or factions. Much like how in early Gintama, there are the Yorozuya and the Shinsengumi. In Red vs. Blue, there are, you guessed it, Reds and Blues. So Red vs. Blue's initial premise is that there are soldiers in a box canyon whose sole purpose is to defeat the other. The Reds are like the Yorozuya, striving on open ridiculousness, crudeness, ignorance, and sometimes sheer stupidity. In Gintama, the Yorozuya are a business that do basically anything for anyone for money, but they either utterly fail at these jobs or get no business at all, and either way they're usually veering off from whatever simple task they have to do into some insane sequence of events, or sometimes simple arguments or disagreements take extreme turns and something insane is made out of nothing. The Reds don't really leave the box canyon as much as Yorozuya leaves Kabukicho, but they are similarly terrible at their jobs, failing at every opportunity to trick the Blues. They completely go off topic in their conversations or goals, and sometimes big deals are made out of trivial issues or disagreements. There are even character similarities among the members of each respective group. Griff is lazy, sloppy, and reluctant to do hard work, and is well known for having a terrible diet. Just like Gintoki is also seen being pretty lazy, trying to find a way to cut corners with whatever task he has to do, is seen being disorganized, and also has an unhealthy obsession with chocolate parfaits and sweets in general. Simmons mirrors Shinpachi, in which he plays the persona of the unimposing nerdy character who is often reacting to the sheer ridiculousness of the situations, or is sometimes made to suffer physically or mentally as a result of the antics taking place. Sarge shares the verbal aggression and bluntness that Kagura has when he interacts with his own soldiers, but other than that, there are no similarities past that. On the other side of the coin, you have the Blues, who try to give off a more serious aura, but much like the Shinsengumi, they fail miserably at doing so. You have the commander, Church, who seems like a normal commander, but is not only quick to anger, and just barely tolerating his incompetent soldiers, he's a terrible shot with a sniper rifle, and has an awkward history with a character introduced later on that he's reluctant to explain. Tucker is an annoying dude bro kind of character who always has a quip to brag about himself and can't keep himself from making annoying or sexist remarks in the presence of female characters. And Caboose is just a total idiot through and through, seemingly having the intelligence of a child, and soon after they enlist the help of Tex, or Agent Texas, who has serious trouble keeping her insane strength in check, is also quick to anger, and shares the awkward history with Church that I mentioned before. Now there aren't really any clear-cut character similarities, but their group is just like the Shinsengumi in how they have an outward appearance of being the more serious and competent group among the two, but are just as ridiculous and flawed. The second thing is how the larger issues at hand in both series in one way or another start with both respective groups. In Gintama, the Shinsengumi being one of the primary law enforcement agencies in the series, you would expect them to be the first to know about any issue going on in the series, and it's expected that they be the first to meet the threat, even if they don't always do. And without spoiling, in Red vs. Blue, some members of the Blue team are connected to the larger problems in the series, so a sizable portion of the plot elements in the first half of Red vs. Blue start with the Blues, or at least the Blues are the first to hear or know about it. Now the Box Canyon does have a few neutral actors in play, like Gintama has Hasegawa. The medic, Doc, is contractually obligated to serve both teams, and Andy the Bomb spends time with both teams. And just like in Gintama, sometimes throughout Red vs. Blue, the villain or issue emerges that both groups have to work together to push back or resolve. So Gintama fans know that the entire dynamic of this series began to change around episode 58, at the beginning of the Benizakura arc. Similarly, Red vs. Blue changes irreversibly at the start of season 6. In both shows, the illusion of the lackadaisical wacky world in which the characters live in is shattered as the ugly aspects of both worlds begin to rear their heads and confront the characters head on. The first 5 seasons of Red vs. Blue total at 100 episodes, but the average RVB episode is usually shorter than a Gintama episode, so it almost evens out in the amount of time it takes to get to the major point of change. So up to these respective major shifts, the tone of both series is largely comedic. There are still glimpses into the larger plot points, but both series remain rooted mostly in a ridiculous and comedic style that seems to contradict the dangerous or flawed world that the characters live in. But from episode 58 and 101 respectively, the main characters of both series can no longer hide behind their ridiculous antics and bizarre situations. Hell, even the main theme songs of both the Benizakura arc and RVB Season 6 reflect how the entire game has changed. However, neither series turns into an all-out drama. Gintama's story is split into several arcs that can be categorized as comedic, serious, or sometimes semi-serious. Gintama consistently alternates between these as it goes on, with a typical pattern being a few short, fully comedy arcs, with a mostly serious arc in between before returning to comedy. So this is the predominant pattern in the Gintama anime and manga, until the later portion, which has been mostly serious arcs. Red vs. Blue doesn't have arcs in the same sense as Gintama, but is split more as seasons. All the seasons are connected, but they all deal with the exact same issues from beginning to end, but much like Gintama, even after the series changes, there's a lot of comedy and ridiculousness interspersed into RVB at even the most epic or dramatic seasons. Even Gintama's fully serious arcs still have a ton of comedy, so neither series ever completely drops its comedic roots, and both give the viewer what is essentially the best of both worlds between comedy and drama. So both series spend their early days as predominantly comedy, before beginning to alternate between legitimate drama and amazing comedy. In both, we still get the same jokes and comedic style that drew fans in the first place, but we get a plot and drama up there with the best of the best in entertainment, with complex and compelling characters, good character writing, wonderful animation and fight choreography, and truly fascinating worlds. Which brings me to my next point. So both shows are essentially sci-fis, with Gintama taking place in a universe which has been connected by advanced technologies and galactic conquest by a mysterious power. This makes interplanetary travel a regularity, and there are technologies both equal to and even far exceeding our own. Red vs. Blue takes place in the world of the Halo games, which themselves are in the far future, during and after the Great War between the humans and the Covenant, which is a powerful alien race. Like people in the Gintama universe, people in Red vs. Blue can travel between planets, and there are also a lot of advanced technologies scattered across the universe. Due to the seemingly limitless and harsh world that the main characters live in, both the characters in Gintama and RVB have run-ins with space mercenaries, powerful ambitious organizations, extremely intelligent AI, and very powerful aliens. Both series even have the main characters venturing out of their home or base planet for dramatic and comedic reasons. So this aspect is a category on its own because I believe that a lack of good gender representation is a major issue in entertainment. So any work that can avoid those pitfalls deserves praise in its own right. Both Gintama and Red vs. Blue do a good job of not clowning their female characters and making them just as funny, interesting, strong, and complex as the male characters, and sometimes more so. One of Gintama's 3 main protagonists is Kagura, an extremely strong but brutally honest girl who not only is one of the funniest characters, but has one of the best character arcs as she contends with other members of her alien race, trying to tell her how she should live her life, as she gets in verbal and physical altercations as a result of it. Gintama introduces a ton of female characters who all vary in their personalities, plot involvement, comedic involvement, and strength. And there are no static characteristics imposed on female characters, and they remain as interesting and diverse in their personalities and goals as the male characters are. Red vs. Blue also does a great job of this. Initially, every character is male, before both Red and Blue team enlist the help of a female character. Sister Griff, the sister of Dexter Griff, on the Red team, and Agent Texas on the Blue team. Sister is basically perfect for the Red team, as she shares the weirdness and delinquency that defines the Red team, while Texas is perfect for the Blue team, as she emits a serious aura, is extremely strong, but struggles to keep her temper and insane strength in check, and actually has funny moments every once in a while too. Later on, as the series leaves the box canon and expands into the greater universe, Red vs. Blue introduces a plethora of awesome and diverse female characters who range from extremely strong, Competitive, hilarious, and complex, we have the aforementioned Agent Texas, as well as Sister Griff, the very competitive Agent Carolina, a troubled commander of a rebellion, Vanessa Kimball, a creepy and sadistic doctor, Dr. Gray, the conflicted CT, a snarky pilot, 479er, and even a reporter who has to make personal sacrifices and put herself constantly in harm's way to bring people the truth about what's going on in the RVB universe. And of course, there are many, many more. This goes to show that Rooster Teeth's writing staff that handles Red vs. Blue are dedicated to making their female characters not only just as involved, but much like Gintama, diverse in their motivations, personalities, and overall involvement. What's admirable about both of these shows is that neither attempt to present us a static portrayal of women that's generalized or lazy, but something that embraces the diversity and possibilities of real life. There is no definitive way of life or set of characteristics for men and women, and both shows send a clear message that that is what they're going for with their characters. Now, I'm not saying that these shows are completely flawless in this department and without any sort of fault, but as far as mainstream entertainment goes, both do a rather good job. So these are more isolated or coincidental similarities that I'll just quickly list off. Both series have arcs or stories based in the past before the main timeline that greatly influence the lives of the main characters. Gintama has flashbacks to Gintoki's childhood under his mentor, as well as a Joey War, a national conflict in which the main character, Gintoki, as well as main antagonist Takasugi, participated in on the side of the rebellion, alongside two other important characters, Sakamoto and Katsura. And there's even an entire arc consisting mostly of a flashback to the Joey War, and there's a canon movie, Be Forever Yorozuya, which takes place partly in the past during the Joey War. The Freelancer Saga in Red vs. Blue Season 9 and 10 is based on an organization that directly shaped the lives of the Reds and Blues before the main timeline of the RVB story. And in these two seasons we are given more information and context for several important characters who would appear later in the timeline. Sunrise seems likely to adapt a few skipped manga chapters in anime starting this October, and these are comedic chapters which will be a detour from the last 3 arcs of the anime which have been serious arcs. And it's assumed that after this arc is finished, we will see the final Gintama arc, which wraps up all the dramatic plot points soon after. In RVB, after several super hype and dramatic seasons, Season 14 took a detour and focused on several side stories which were mostly comedic, and a major temporary departure from the structured style of the previous 8 seasons, with Season 14 being mostly episodic in nature, while Season 15 has returned to the main timeline and the same story structure. Both series have an arc or story dedicated to a doppelganger for a primary protagonist. Gintama has an arc dedicated to a feud between main protagonist Sakata Gintoki and Sakata Kintoki, a golden-haired doppelganger of Gintoki who dresses mostly like Gintoki, appears to have the same history, and even manages to confuse people into thinking he's the actual main character of the show. This is known as the Gintama arc. The most recent season of Red vs. Blue focuses on a mysterious group pretending to be the Reds and Blues, with the ringleader being Temple, who seems to be a doppelganger of one of the primary protagonists of the series, and arguably the most important, Leonard Church. The other main cast members of the Reds and Blues also have impersonators who seem to share their characteristics. Finally, both sets of main characters are caught up in a major conflict between a government and a rebellion. The main cast of Gintama ends up involved in a large-scale clash between the Shogun of Japan's forces and rebels wanting to get rid of him. In Red vs. Blue, the Reds and Blues get involved in a major civil war between the government of the planet Chorus and a rebellion who wants to overthrow the system. So that's my video on the similarities of both of these series and why you should give Red vs. Blue a shot if you enjoy Gintama. Now let me know what you all think in the comments. If you happen to have already seen both of these, let me know if I missed anything or if I didn't get something quite right. If you like my content enough, follow me on Twitter. Anyway, thank you for the continued support and take care.